Welcome. I am Cynthia Harrison, your Mystic Medicine Woman, and this is the Intuitive Energy Medicine Power Readings. I just had to save a little chick, so I literally heard it cheeping out the door and had to run out, and it wasn't with its mum, so I caught it and threw it under under another chicken, under another hen, and hopefully it will be okay. Anyhow, so getting settled in. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I have been away for the last 2 Mondays. So every Monday at 6 p.m. we do a gathering where we discuss, we ask questions, we might do some readings, although tonight I'm not sure how that will go because I've had quite a bit of crown pressure today. However, that usually makes readings better because it's doing its thing because of all the planets. So we will invite people. Hey, Murray. I'm just saying that I'll just invite some people. I'm glad that you're here, and I've missed everybody, so I've had a few weeks off. I was actually contemplating whether to turn up tonight as well, and I thought I can't not turn up another night, so I'm here. But we'll talk about some of the things that have been going on, but primarily I was thinking about talking about magnetism in a few different ways in regards to the mind and how that can benefit us, the understanding of that in a real on the ground sort of everyday way. I'm just hearing my voice. I'm thinking I'm not completely here because my voice sounds very different. Doesn't it, Murray? I sound different, don't I? Well, I can hear it. Although, as I was just saying, I did literally just run out and save a little baby chick and then run up the stairs and try and find a hen to put it under so that it didn't die through the night, and then run back down and start. So, yeah, it sounds a bit husky. That can be good. Anyway, all right, we'll see. We will see. So let me just, while I just share to my other page, maybe you can tell me what's been going on for you or what you've seen in your field lately that, you know, might be something we can talk about. Just while we bide our time while I do this, because there's no other way to really do it. I at least want to share to my main page so that we can let some of the others know. There you go. Yeah, so it's been keeping busy, better focused energy. Oh, that's good. I saw that you've been out and about a little bit. I saw a couple of your posts that were talking about a movie and another outing that you went to. So that's good. That's always good. All right, one more. We'll share it to the Arts of Healing and maybe the Energy Medicine group. Okay. I'm with you now. Turn that down. All right. So Kath just joined. Yay, Kath. So everybody's starting to come on. Whew, it's hot in here. Usually I'm freezing cold. I've actually got a big woolly blanket right next to me because usually I get cold. It's actually really warm today. but I am in Perth, so it's usually beautiful here. Isn't it, Murray? It's always beautiful here, really. We can't complain. Even our cold days are warm in comparison to other people's days. So just before we came on, I just be straight up with you. I'm contemplating, because I've had this head pain today, but it was after I did particular work on somebody, and it happened last week as well. A different person, but the same work. And how I was getting the information was different as well. So I'm sharing this as, as a teaching, really. I'm just going to put this down and let me know if you can't hear me, because I hate these little things in my ear. So I'm just going to put it in front of me and just let me know if you can still hear me. But I noticed that when I do this particular work in the evening, even though I do my what's called etheric hygiene, right? So prana healers have this way of clearing and not disconnecting from the person, but disconnecting from the energy that they were working with. And I found that the last two of these particular sessions that were not particularly full on or anything, although yesterday's was pretty spectacularly thrilling for me. I kept going, like I was in awe of what was happening myself. So if that person comes on and wants to talk about it, then that would be great. But just what was showing up. And I find I didn't plan to talk about this, it's just come up as things do, right? However, what I find is as the world, the planets, the energy of our field shifts and changes, so does how our energy shifts and changes. And so what I've been noticing the last couple of weeks is how that shift and change has impacted positively and negatively and neutrally within the way that I work with energy, and also viewing it as an observer for other people. That was a bit cryptic. What I mean is that people are telling me what their lives are like, week after week, and I'm sort of I monitor that. I don't write down the ins and outs of things, but I do monitor and pay attention. I observe things. I just remember things like that. So anyway, it's just interesting that how people's systems are reacting or shifting and changing in the last few weeks has really fascinated me. I keep saying, oh, that's so interesting. Like I just keep getting so excited about it. Hey, Fernando. Welcome from Brazil. Lovely to have you. And Kath's saying it's been warm in New South Wales too. Well, it's only supposed to be 22 degrees today, but this evening it's quite warm because I'm not a sweaty person, but I'm sweating. Anyway, so those that work with energy or work with people, I wonder if you've noticed some of those changes within yourself or within your clients, because I've noticed that some of the systems, as I'm testing and scanning, I've never seen some of this stuff before, not in the same way. And I've seen a lot. I've been around a long time. And when there's these particular changes within the human systems, mind you, these ladies are quite awake and aware, and this is what does happen with our energy systems as we evolve. Our energy systems evolve. But I'm starting to see some wonderful things, even though they may come across as a misalignment, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's just exciting for me because this is my work, and I'm here to serve and to assist people to live vital and well in their life. And when their systems are doing very strange things, if we can be intuitive enough and use the intuitive mind or the neutral mind, we can assist and they progress without too many blips in there or trip ups in their path. So that excites me because that's why I'm here. So anyway, so telling that story has linked into magnetism and the minds, because the energy that I work with, or the alignments that I do for and with people, are around raising the magnetism, raising the magnetic force within, and that helps with your expansion and your strength and your core to stay strong. So when you are hit by things, your infrastructure, so it's not just the Kundalini, there's all of these other energies, so many other energies, that when they're, let's just for ease of description, when they're illuminated, have more strength and flow and structure. So it's like building, we're like this skyscraper, and if we don't have the foundations, and if we're still working on these higher structures, we need what's it called? We need scaffolding, so that when that central channel gets a knock, so when we get a knock by something from being emotional or maybe a little bit too much external, then we hit the infrastructure that's surrounding the central channel, the central core. So think about people that you know that bounce back really quick. They get hit with all sorts of things, but they're not out for very long. And that's the difference, because in the past we would be hit by things and we would be out for years, if not, months. So that's the difference. When this energy, when your magnetism, when you have the magnetic force, that you just, you are bringing things into you. Well, you're not actually bringing them in. They're being attracted through the magnetism, right? So, some of you, I'm just checking if there's any messages, because that seems to stop scrolling. So I'm just going to check my phone. Oh, there are. Okay. They're all just popping up now. All right, I wondered. So, magnetism, magnetic attraction. You might think it's about, when they say that person has charisma or magnetism, people are drawn to them. And there are people that are maybe not, they're drawing people to them, but maybe not being the best. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome. May not be in the best alignment, so to speak. So let's look at it. Let's look at, yay, Jennifer's here. So relationships, for instance, I think most of you have had a relationship that has, and Lois, haven't seen you for a while, welcome. We've had relationships that have these shifts in them, like where you just, it might not be fighting and arguing and whatnot, but you just don't line up anymore. Have any of you had experiences like that where you're just not lining up? It's the frequency of one or both of you has changed, but you're not meeting anymore. And so sometimes those relationships, they just dissipate. They just move away. Now, you can have love for somebody, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But in regards to the minds, we have this, basically we'll have a dominance. Kat says, absolutely. Yeah, we all pretty much have. I've had great endings and not so great endings. And I really get this. And when you have a little bit more, I'm hoping that this will clear it up a little bit around the minds and how these minds come into how we can view this. So we will have a dominant influence, and we'll either be dominated. Well, we have the positive, negative, and neutral minds, right? Let's just call it that for simplicity. And we'll have a dominance of that. So you'll either be dominated by the, or influenced, let's say, influenced by the negative, and some have more dominance or influence from the positive mind. Now, you might think that one's better than the other, but it's not. We need them all. But it's how we understand those minds that will assist how we move through the world. And also how we do our work. If you're on the path, some of you are on the path and doing, breath work and Kriya and whatnot with me, and other mentoring work. So this will make probably more sense to you, but I'm trying to explain it in a way that will make sense to anybody. So really, basically, positive, negative, and neutral mind, the three minds. Okay. If a negative mind is your influence, you will have that gift of being more discerning, you see. Let's just use that wording. You're going to be more discerning. Okay. Some of you might be a little bit more influenced by the positive mind. I'm a little bit more influenced by the positive mind. And I tell you, I had got myself into so much trouble because of it. Right? Why? So I'm a fire element. So I'm a yes person. If somebody wants to do something bit, maybe even dangerous, I'm usually like, yeah, come on, like life's to be experienced. Okay. There's no negative mind to help me, to protect me, to be discerning, to go, if you jump off that cliff, into the water, are there rocks in the water? Is the water deep enough, right? The negative mind saves you. It's like a protection, you see. So when we talk about these minds, I feel like generally we will go, oh, the negative mind, no, we can't, that's no good. But if you're always, so if I say positive, it could be, the optimistic type of personality, right? We don't really see the no's or sometimes the dangers, okay? So having a good blend of that is really can help you. Does that make sense? The negative mind is a gift if it's guided by your intuitive mind or the neutral mind. But, let's call it the intuitive mind. If you're excessively negative, you might find yourself looking at problems rather than solutions, right? So you can go, so everything's about that. See, I don't really like the word balance, but it's like the poles of a magnet, right? And the neutral mind is like the center. So you've got the positive, negative poles. Our bodies are positive, negative poles. Everything about us is positive, negative pole, right? I had a headache before, actually. My headache's completely gone now. So there you go. I had this selenite, this pink selenite on my temple for a while because it's nice and cool. But then what I did just before I went and rescued the chicken, those of you that were on earlier and heard that I just went and rescued the little chick, what I was doing was spinning a crystal over particular points. And sometimes we can check a point, positive and negative. You see what I'm doing with my hand? Because our hand is like a magnet. When we have a north and a south, a positive and a negative, we can actually test particular points, beginning and ending points of the meridians or acupuncture points, to see whether those points are actually irregular, which means their polarity is not what is in its best interest, let's say. So we want these, but we want them flowing and supporting each other. We don't want too much dominance of one or the other, okay? So too much of a negative mind, you're just looking at the problems, and too much of a positive, you're only looking at the solutions. You're not even seeing, not even solutions, you're probably not even seeing that there's a problem or will be a problem, because it's all just positive, it's all going to be good, it's all good, it's all good. Do you relate to any of this? Lois is saying, yes, it makes sense. Good. Because I'm trying to make this stuff that sometimes seems really complex and out there. I just want to try and bring it down to every day so that we can really have a grasp on it. Because if you can get this, it will change your life. It will change your life. Sorry, I keep looking at my phone. So is scrolling to look at. So yeah, I mean, just reflect for yourself because we all do have more of a tendency to be one or the other. So it would mean that, if I'm more yeah, let's go, like solution focused type of person, then for me, I would be slowing down and going, okay, I need to bring in the other aspect, right? So that it's the full pole, right? So that's on that level. We see the opportunity, so that positive nature sees opportunity after opportunity, right? Are any of you like that? I just see so much opportunity. However, the energy that I spend or used to spend, because I'm not like this anymore, okay, but I can still recognize it when it comes up, that I spend a lot of energy. So you hear the word spend and spent, because your energy is like your currency. So where do you invest your energy? So I've learned that most of my life. I was never a good learner with this stuff because I would just make the same mistakes so many times. It was almost like it had to be, I had to experience things 100 times before I went, all right, So I would be putting my energy, and that's fiery type as well. Like we've got a lot of energy, so we're just like putting it all over the place, but then you burn out. Hi, Diane. Hope you're feeling better. So where do you place your energy? Where do you spend it? Where do you invest it? Who do you invest your energy in? Are they a positive or a negative type of, do they see the problems or the solutions? Do they see opportunity or or they close the gate? Are they solution focused or problem focused? You know, it's a good thing to contemplate. It's not about a judgment. It's not a judgment at all. It's just about discernment, isn't it? To go. Oh, that's interesting. And that's why maybe that dance of the polarity is as it is in our relationship. Kath's saying, yes, that's me all over. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I see you. So it is good to just take a breath and go, where am I putting my energy? If a lot of opportunity is coming in, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it all. And that's where that discernment comes in, to feel into what might be in the best interest for your growth or for your path or for your evolution. Okay. So it's about our life force, our energy, because I'm an energy practitioner. I'm a medicine woman. It's all about, you know, our physical and energetic bodies and how we move in the world and how we dispense that energy, how we build our magnetism, you know, through our life force, how that life force is carried through the voice, the breath, but also in our field, how it then brings in and pushes out. So let's see if there's no questions, just comments. Okay. So feel free to ask questions and add comments, because you know that I go back and I will answer, and you know, it might take us in a different direction. I'm happy to go wherever you need to go. I'm not going to stay too late tonight, so we'll try and just stick to an hour, if that's okay, because that's what I'm supposed to do, and I can never do an hour. So I'm going to try and use my discernment, my other pole, and go. So where are we going to go now? So if we're embarking, if we're stepping out, and I think most of you I can see that are on, you're stepping out on that path of evolution, okay? Really consciously stepping out on that path of evolution. And when we develop good magnetism, good magnetic energy, we can start to be very impressive to ourselves. Let me just see what Kath's saying. Let me look on here. You just can see that Kath's saying something. What patterns keep coming up? What have you done personally to realise, to move past them? Okay, I'll see if that comes in a moment. I just want to talk about magnetism first. It's all related, okay? So once I tell you about this, it will basically answer those questions. So we're on this journey, and literally the journey is to, in a way, a lot of it is about good magnetism and that magnetic energy. When you have that, you start, and all of you that are on, that I can see that are on, all have this. You start to see the difference in how you are now to how you were. Are you wearing healing colours tonight? I'm wearing healing colours for you, Diane, because but my daughter's not been well as well. Yeah, pink. I like pink. I don't wear pink very often. So magnetism, and how we look at ourselves, and the contrast between how we were to how we are now. So that can be in terms of our skillfulness, you know, do any of you can you relate to this? You know, even how you look, or, you know, you're doing your practice and you can see how you've changed, whether it's physically or energetically, or in your skills, how you can speak now, or how you can paint or play music, or how you write, or whatever your skillfulness is. Can you see that there's been a shift? Because this is what happens when you grow magnetism, right? You just become good at a lot of things, right? But generally what happens is you become really skilled at what you had some skill in the first place, and that becomes almost like the carrier, or the, what's a better word, not portal, access point, not sure what the word is. That becomes the way that the magnetism is put out to the world, because then people see your music, hear your singing, see your writing, see your teachings or whatever, and they're drawn to that. Does that make sense? Do any of you relate to that, even in a small way, like within your jobs or your roles, or even in family? You know, if you look back a year, can you see that? Because what happens is you do get impressed by yourself. You start to love yourself. Yeah, Kath's saying, yeah. You start to love yourself, which is great. Diane's saying, I sometimes see the solutions very clearly. Yeah. So, yeah, whatever your gifts are, when you build that magnetism even more, which is about the evolution, which is about awakening and ascension, but I'm trying to just bring it down to very simple way of speaking about it. So I hope that this might help clarify some of the really complex stuff that I often talk about. So let me just see, got some questions or some comments. I trust and allow. Yeah, great. But Diane, you're doing your work, girl. Your magnetism, you know, the more work we do, and even the careers we've been doing is building magnetism. That's what it's for. That's the only reason that I do it, to build the magnetism, to keep expanding. So yeah, you're going to probably relate to this quite well. So if the negative mind is overly excessive in terms of how your psyche is operating, you might find problems where they don't even exist, and that causes scarcity. So Diane's saying, people see the beauty in me, that amazes me. Yeah, that's the magnetism. Okay, we can call it all sorts of things, but tonight I'm calling it magnetism. It's the magnetic force. With magnetic force produces the effect within, you know, all the other systems. Your, you know, whether you want to call it Kundalini or central core strength. When I say central core, central channel, it's not muscular, it's the energetic stuff. What was I saying? Scarcity. So where you see problems where problems don't exist, that's like that scarcity or that lack mentality can come in, and it can be difficult then to make money or to accumulate the resources that you might need to have to be and do and are. Right? Why are you here? So, you know, I was telling somebody yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. It's interesting because I can manifest like this. Yet I'm not rolling in cash. And that's because that's not what my focus is. Do you see? But when I need it, it comes. It just comes. When I need it, it comes. Now, if you were going to ask me what would my what would my work be? I could say, well, I could focus on having more abundance in that way. However, I don't feel that I'm lacking in anything. And I don't feel that, I don't feel that. Then again, I have a positive, optimistic mind. So if I stay in neutrality, build the magnetic force, what's needed will come, as I've said, but also what's not needed will fall away. It will just naturally fall away. You don't even need to do anything. So, so if the positive mind's excessively strong, you may develop lots of money. Hey, Stefan, you may develop lots of money, but not have any kind of substance. So you need the pituitary center, that neutral mind, to guide the negative and the positive. Make sense? Any questions? No? So if you've got any questions, let me know. So the magnetism is just as much about what is being pushed away from you versus what is being drawn towards you. So think of it as being drawn towards what's being drawn towards me and what's being pushed away based on my life force energy or your life force energy. Yeah? Then with the wisdom, the neutrality, or naturally, organically, the field will start to cut out things that aren't in alignment with what you're here for, or to do, or to be, or to are, as I say. So it's not an easy thing. And so Diane's saying, I'm accepting and less judgmental. Yes, this is about judgment. Just give me a moment. Sorry. Take two. So, judgment. Yes, judgment, massive. Okay, but all of this is about that. So where was I before I so rudely disappeared? So things are being drawn towards you and pushed away. Now, we've talked about this in the past, and the videos are there if people want to go back and look at. We've talked about the vortices. So there's 8 main vortices, energetic vortices, that are just off the body, and they hold the imprint, the energetic imprint that feed the chakras, and they hold, or the back chakras hold, your beliefs and conditioning patterns. And this is what also assists in that pulling and pushing what's coming into you and what's coming out, because they're these tornadoes, little vortices, okay? And some of them push in and some of them push out. So we have talked about that in the past. So you can go back and look at that, or if you've got more questions about that, I'm happy to answer today. So there's these other energetic systems that assist in bringing us what we need and expelling or cutting away what we don't need for why we're here. The thing is, with a positive or negative mind, you're going to see what comes in those different veils, or, you know, either rose-colored glasses or whatever the other one would be. You know, you're not seeing clearly, you're not seeing the clarity of what's really there, of the reality. I usually say the relative reality, right? Because if you're too much of one or the other, it's skewed in that positive or negative, which is basically just either end of the magnetic pole. What you want to be is the center of that pole. And how we do that is through pineal work, the major gland work, okay? Because that's the neutral mind. That's what gives you the clarity and the clearing of all the subconscious rubbish that's in your subconscious trash can that needs to be cleared out daily to have that clarity. Make sense? I know that the ones that come to the teachings know, some of this, so I'm just touching, but those that are not heard me talk about this before, please ask questions. I'm happy to answer things that maybe aren't clear, because they tend to be cryptic a lot of the time. Okay, so things are drawn toward you, things are pushed away. And why it's not easy is because of the emotional attachments, okay? This is not new to anybody, but it's how we put it together and how it all functions together that may be a little different. So by generating this magnetic energy, your new magnetic energy, intuitively you're not resonating with that person anymore. So you might love that person. So remember at the beginning I was talking about relationships and how they end. And it might not be your lover or your husband or your wife or your partner. It could be your children or your workmates or your friends, or just any relationships really. But for those close relationships, you love them, but you don't resonate with them anymore. Or you want to be around them because you still love them, but you're not joining together like my little magnets that I usually always show you, and I just happen to have them here and I'll show you again. But when you're pulled towards, when you're resonating at that same frequency, so here's my little magnets, and they're getting a bit, and they pull together, or they push apart because of they're pulling together on that side and they're pushing apart on that side. I can't get them together. Okay, it's north south, positive negative, mother father, hot cold, any of it. So doesn't mean you don't love that person anymore. It's just you're not resonating with them because your frequency is shifted. Okay, so if you're on this evolutionary path, it's going to happen. You will find that people, places, stuff fall away. And it doesn't have to be dramatic if you understand this about the emotions. So love's not about who you choose to surround yourself with as such. At work or at home or whatever. So just as much as we want to draw great things towards us, we should also be interested in repelling those things not in our best interest, even if we have emotions holding on to them. This is what creates your suffering. Give me a yay or a nay. What creates your suffering? Somebody posted about love. I reposted it, and so you've probably seen it, most of you. And it was about love not hurting. It was about, all the other things that we attribute to love hurt, but love does not hurt. Okay? So it's the emotions or the grasping, the Buddhists talk about grasping, is what we hold tight to. And there was something I was holding tight to recently, and I literally had my fingers slashed. And most of you know about that because it happened half an hour before I was going live, and I went into shock and all the rest of it. And but you know, I knew exactly what that was about because I couldn't bend my finger. I can bend it now, but it still hurts because of all the scar tissue underneath. It was preventing me from grasping, holding on so tight. I literally had my finger sliced. So you have things in your field that will happen, and if you are aware of the subtlety of the energy, you'll get it. I had a wonderful session, as I was saying at the beginning, with a lady yesterday, and I was doing, it's called a vortex revival, which is about life force energy and how it, for her, it needed to come up. And it needs to come up to at least the heart. And hers was coming up to her knee. Before I even started that, I had this stab in my knee. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So actually, most of you know how I get my information differently. But this is, now it's just coming in like, bam, bam. And if I wasn't aware, I would probably go, oh, I've got a sore knee. But I went, stabbing pain in my knee. It was just like someone stabbed me in my knee. And I went, and I started to see where her energy went to. And lo and behold, it stopped at her knees. So that was how my intuition was telling me what was going on for her. And it went on and on and on. I mean, you know, it's just an example of how our bodies will tell us what's going on. If we're listening to the subtlety, you know, everything's there. Everything's there. It's not like, oh, what a coincidence. No, look at it. What is it telling you? So another example, hope she doesn't mind, but my daughter was looking for her passport tonight or today, and everywhere she looked, she couldn't find it. And then she started to sweat. So she went into a particular bag for her deodorant, and that's where her passport was. And she said, oh, of course. And I said, no, same thing. It wasn't a coincidence. Your body was telling you. You were being shown where your passport was. See? But our positive or negative states are coming in to go, oh, it's this, that, or the other. No, everything's resonating and showing and guiding us how we want to see it, good, bad, indifferent, is the blinkers or the veils that we have, and the emotional connection or how we're holding on to something. So brings me into death and dying. And I've studied death and dying most of my life, and people used to think I was morbid, but in anthropology, it's some of the first things that we're taught is around the rituals and how different cultures celebrate and go through their mourning and grief periods in different ways, how they celebrate life and death. And so anyway, so it's not morbid. It's actually quite beautiful and wonderful to see how people love, really, in different ways, or show their love. So that's about holding on, the emotion. So we recognize there is some difficulty that needs to be grieved. So let's talk about grief a little bit. So Diane's saying, I get that. We'll take more notice now. I know, I mean, look, most of my life, people have laughed at me and, thought I was a bit of a joke, right? But I'm telling you, at last, people are waking up, right? And I'm not such a joke anymore. This is deep wisdom, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. This isn't something I just made up. This is when I talk about the intuitive information, It's when you are in resonance, you have access to all that information. You have clarity. You're able to be guided and receive great information. And that's why I was talking about, you know, there's points in time where you think you're it in a bit because you go, oh yeah, wow, look how smart I am now. It's not you, it's not me. I'm able to access things that I haven't been able to access before, but it's not my genius as such. My genius would be that I've been clever enough to do my work, to be able to access universal consciousness or the universal grid or the matrix, whatever you want to call it, where we then have that knowing, right? Anyway, back to the grieving, because this is important, I think. You can let me know if it's important to you or not. So grieving or grief cuts through the emotional attachments. Think about that. We grieve when people die, and this helps us get what we need, almost like the sustenance from the experience. Does that make sense? Like, I'll say that again if not, because it's pretty powerful. I feel it's pretty powerful that when we grieve, when we go through the grieving process, it assists to cut through the emotional attachments. Just check if there's any questions. No. So grief is wonderful. So Diane's saying, when my son was sick, I would feel his pain. Finally, I would tell him to go to the doctor because I was carrying his pain. Yes. However, that's your, people could see that different. I know that you're not Diane, but you know, if we are feeling somebody else's pain, it's not their fault. Everything is our responsibility. However, until you get to a point that you can see how it's our responsibility, it's very difficult to tell people that is. If that, you get what I'm saying? So if I said to you or to anybody who's watching that everything that happens to you is your responsibility and you're responsible for, there will be so many of you that will blast me, and that's okay. I've said it, but then I'm not going to say it because that's for what we call the warriorship. So those on the path who choose to go on that evolutionary discovery journey, right, so to speak, do the work to be able to endure that responsibility for everything and everyone and yourself. Everything that comes into your field, you are responsible for. Those not on the journey, I'm not saying that to you because it won't completely ring true, because the resonance of that is different. I'm not saying anybody's better or worse. We're at different points. So it's almost like the rules or the language and how it's contradictory at different levels. When we talk to those that are working or moving through the lower triangle, what we call the lower triangle, the lower grid, the lower three chakras, I wouldn't say that to you. And I'm not saying that to you because the capacity to be able to do the work at that lower triangle is not there to take the sword and go and fight that battle, so to speak. Okay? I feel like I just went off into some void then, so I'm going to come back to so Diane's saying, I get you. Good, thank you. I get you too. All right. So we grieve when people die, and this helps us get what we need from the experience. And you won't get that, what we might call nutrition or sustenance, if that emotional attachment is blocking you from receiving whatever that sustenance might be. And the sustenance could be anything, you know, it could be wisdom or the clarity to see what just happened and those sorts of things. So whatever it is for you, if you're in that emotional state of attachment, you can't receive your gifts. So instead of being in a pure love state or space, you find yourself in, I'm going to use the word selfish, right? I very rarely use that word, but you're going to be in a state where it's about you and what you want. And let me tell you a story. I've told this before, but I love it because it's about my grandfather, and I love him dearly. Always will. He's no longer with us, but when he was dying, I was his carer, and he died. Like, I would get called, get taken to hospital. They'd call me, I'd go in, they'd say, yeah, go and say goodbye to him, and I would just touch him. I would rub his arms and touch him. I just loved him, right? But I did it through, I usually would, because I used to put moisturizer on his skin, because he was old. He was on his way out. But I loved him so much, and I went to live in Africa, and I said to him, please don't go. He said, go, you must go and live your life. But I didn't want to go because I didn't want to leave him, all that, right? But he said, go. So I went, and I came back. Each time I came back, I was with him, and then in the end, then I was his carer. But I realized that twice I brought him back. Twice I brought him back. The second last time they said he was gone, go and say goodbye. And I went in, he was in the bed, and no one was with him, because they just pulled the sheet, they just left him there. And I went in, and I talk, like, I see death differently. Death is a doorway to me, and I continued to speak to him, and still do to this day, because the eternal part of himself still exists. It never lived, it never born, and it never dies. So the vessel that he was in, my grandfather, had gone, but he is eternal, okay? But he started to try and talk to me. So he's supposed to be dead. He comes back to life. I realized he was coming back for me. He was coming back for me. My love was that strong for him that he kept coming back. And I've noticed that with some of my animals too. My animals live very long lives, to the point, and see, again, we think, oh, that's positive. No, it's not positive, because in some ways, the last 3 animals that I've had, including my llama, lived so long, but they had organ failure because they were so old. I kept healing them, right? Because I didn't want them to go. I learned my lesson, okay? And even with my grandfather, that love kept him here. And it wasn't until I got to the point, and it was that point, and I said to him, if you need to go, I won't. I stopped holding on. I released that, because I wanted him with me. I wanted him here. He wanted to go. He wanted to die probably 5 years before that, when my grandmother died. He didn't want to be around, but I wanted him around. That's what I'm talking about. I was being selfish. I wanted him. I would miss him. Me. Right? Don't we? We do that. Oh my God. So I'm not judging anybody, because I'm talking about myself, but I've been through all of this. And when I let him go, it wasn't long after that he passed. And it was beautiful. And I grieved him, but it was beautiful. And I spoke to him every day. He was with me every day for a long time. like literally around for a long time. And probably because I was still grasping a little bit, maybe. But now, you know, after a time, they dissipate. Same with the animals. Anyway, that's another story. I hope this is interesting. Anyway, back to that grieving when you are in love and not in the grasping of emotional attachment. This is so beautiful. When you get to that, or if you can get to that, that grief actually assists that person on their journey. It assists them. And the more people that love you while you're here and doing your work, right? When you do go, that group grieving of love is an energy force that assists that journey. Does that make sense? Is that not beautiful? When my dog, my last dog passed, she was, how old was she? 16, 17. You know, I called all the other ones in to meet her, and it did the same. And I think I might have even put it on Facebook for that, you know, for everybody to sort of send her on her way. It's the same with people. I know, mad animal woman, but you know, it's the same for people. So instead of being in that pure love space, we can find ourselves in that grasping, selfish space. And it does take work. It takes a lot. I'm not going to say it was easy. I mean, it took me a few goes of being, you know, almost smacked in the side of the head with my grandfather, realizing that every time I brought him back, his life was not great. Well, he didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be here. I wanted him here. So it was all about what I wanted. And when I realized, it just hit me. And as much as it upset me, I had that conversation with him. And I'm so glad I was able to have that conversation with him. And he left. So Diane's saying, I learned this from Aboriginal culture. It taught me not to fear death. Yeah. The thing is that when you have that magnetic force, when you build this magnetic force and you're able to access the neutral mind, which is that pineal pituitary, or let's call it, I mean, some of you might, the neutral mind or the pineal center, that gland, is what we maybe would call the third eye, okay? But because it's been so bastardized, we just call it the neutrality, the neutral mind. And purity of love is neutral. It's a space, okay? So by getting out of the attachments, we can help people move on. If, you know, it's all that, our conditioning, and we fear death, and we don't understand that there's more. And when you, so Diane's saying, not fearing of death, when we do the work, and there's lots of different work, so I'm just going to say do the work, but all of my work is about dying daily. We die daily. All of it, all of the work, all of the basically spiritual work is about learning to die well before the actual death. So if you only awaken on your deathbed, man, you've missed out. So these experiences of the eternal self is when, for instance, some of you have done work with me where we've even light sound presence, where we view the third eye and we listen for the sounds of the spheres or the sounds of the universe. When we do that enough, we get an experience. So mystic is about giving other people the experience of the magnificence that they are. not this this body or this vehicle that is fleeting. It's born and it dies. Who you are is eternal, the infinite. And so these practices and the energy work, some of the energy work, not all of it, is about giving you the experience of the self, not yourself, the self. The more that you experience the self, the more, actually, the less separated you feel. And the more you do the practice and the work, you get less and less of the separation. So more and more unity. You get more used to the experience of who you are. Yeah. So you go into meditation and you have those wonderful experiences. You're experiencing an aspect of the self. And then you get up and go through your life. So you might meditate or do a breath work or some sort of practice that gives you that. And then you get up and you go to work, or you go and do, take the kids to school or whatever you're doing. But each time you do that practice, you're expanding your magnetic field, your magnetism, and then it comes back down. But it never comes back down to where you started. So if you have a regular practice, you're over time expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, until you're expanding and contracting back to here rather than to here. And you might not notice it, but that's what I was saying at the beginning of this. Think back last year of how you were. Just reflect. Reflect. Because you're different. You're different. I don't know all of you. I can say that without doubt. You're different, okay? So what else do I want to say before we finish up? I'm going to talk about intuition a little bit. So basically, let's cover what we've already talked about, that genuine love is of the neutral mind. Emotional love is a function of the negative and positive combined. So we need enough negative mind to know, to discern, and yeah, it protects us. It's like the nervous system sort of going, oh, is this going to hurt us or not hurt us? It's a good thing. You need it. You don't want it driving the bus, so to speak. You don't want it in control. And you don't want the positive in control either. What you want driving the bus is the neutral mind. So where you see the first thing that comes in is the negative mind. Boom. Is this safe or unsafe? Then the positive comes in. Boom. Then if you've done your work, the neutral mind will see the clarity of what is actually happening. And that's what Diane was saying before. I'm just recalling what she was saying about she's got a lot more clarity and judgment now. Or less judgment, but more, I think, discernment, right? Because she has developed, and I've known Diane for a long, long time, and we've developed together. I can remember her 15 years ago, I think, So, yeah, the work's been done. It's not hard work. It's just regular work. So, yeah, the intuitive mind. So any questions? Let me see. No? Okay. So just a little thing that someone told me, and it rings true because of how the minds work around when you ask a question or when you're contemplating to do something or not to do something. And it basically takes 9 seconds for the subconscious to come in, or that negative to overpower the intuitive mind or the neutral mind. So when you're wanting to do something, or you're asking yourself a question, or you're wanting some guidance from the self, 9 seconds. So according to yogi teachings, you have 9 seconds before the subconscious comes in. So if you haven't, just reading a comment. So if you haven't made your decision, or it's more than 9 seconds, then leave it. Leave it. And what you do is you change the moment, change the space. Dr. Pillai, so Babaji was one of my teachers, he used to say, change time, space. What he meant by that was a similar thing, that you move physically or you move through. So when we do our yoga or whatnot, we do a tuning in. So we do the chants at the beginning to tune in. So you could just do chants, whatever mantra that you like, a couple of times, then feel and see how it's shifted the space. It's made room. But you could also shift the space by going and doing something else, going and playing a sport, go watch a movie, go be with somebody, you can change the space. Make sense? Don't make the decision in that other space if you're umming and ahhing or whatever. If you can energy test, that's another way. I generally energy test everything. I just ask, right? But this is what I do for a living. So for others, if you get stuck in that, change the space. How you do that, you can either do some breath work or a mantra or a song or something like that, which will change the space within, or you can change the space without as well. So go and do something, play a sport, watch a movie, watch a show that you like, read a book, like whatever. Don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on it. Okay? Yeah. Don't ruminate on it. And we've talked about that. There's types of things that I suggest where if you've got a loop of a thought, colouring in is really good. It's scientifically proven to cut that loop. They use colouring in books in mental health facilities. Some of my teachers' books, in fact. So we've looked at that. But it's the same thing. If you're ruminating over whether to do something, change the space. Okay. So, because really, who's in charge? Who's in charge of your mind? Which mind is in charge out of the 3 minds? Well, you go into the 6 minds, but I think that'll blow your mind. So we're staying with 3 minds tonight. Positive, negative, and neutral is enough for one session, right? But which one's in charge? Are you a slave to the mind? Who's in charge? You got to be doing the work for that. I generally say who's driving the bus. and I explain it a bit differently, but I just wanted to bring it down to real grass levels of to try and explain it in a different way. And it's basically, yeah, if you do your work and you build your Yogananda call it the dynamo. I think it was the dynamo. So if you have enough willpower, but to have the willpower, you're going to be doing the work. You're going to be doing the work, so that it's not all about full-on willpower. Because if you have that wish, so Yogananda says something like, when you put the dynamo of the will behind the wish, that it will move time and space to a universe where things start to manifest. So this is the power of magnetic energy. So if you want something, I never talk about wishing, but a lot of people wish. But if you don't have that power, that force behind the wish, it's not going to get you anything. So if you'd like something of the highest caliber as possible, for instance, a partner or a job, or I don't know, whatever it is that you're wanting, what would you have to do? What would you do? So if I asked you, right? So those of you that are single, for instance, because this is a good one, if you were going to ask for a partner of the highest caliber possible for you, what would you be prepared to do? Because I'll tell you what you would need to do. And that is to get your frequency to the highest. So the higher frequency, the higher magnetic force to attract into your field and to detract. Is that a word? Detract. From my field or from your field, the things that aren't of that caliber. That's what you would have to do. So you can wish and dream and vision board and whatever else people do to get their dreams to come true. But the only thing you need to really do is raise your frequency. I was going to say your freaking frequency, but raise your frequency to attract what you want, become what you want. Okay? Make sense? Anyone there? I think I got cut off. I think I might have got cut off. I'm not sure if that recorded or not. Hope so. It looked like it cut out. It's hot in here. So, any questions? I think I feel like I've bantered on a lot tonight. No one's really asking any questions. Yay, Lois is still here. Yay. Got some hearts, thank you. I was thinking, am I just here on my own tonight? Talking to myself. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. All right. So yeah, basically, we want to build our own. And Diane's here. I know you're there because I could see your comments. Thank you. So maybe I'll just recap. I talk about this a lot though. I'm going off on a tangent. I did say I would only be an hour. I'll be a few more minutes and then we'll wrap up. Is that that intuitive mind needs to be courted. like your beloved one. And I've talked about this before. And I talked about this as the higher self. It's the same process. And how we court that intuition, that intuitive mind, or that neutral mind is a very subtle, it's very subtle. It would be like if you were trying to flirt with somebody you really liked, right? You wouldn't just go straight up to them, or maybe you would. But, you know, density does that, but on another level, we're just subtly courting and saying, hey, here I am. Oh, I'm back here again. Fancy meeting you, you know, whatever, right? We do this through our practice. And the more that you make contact with that, it's not hard, because you just are love. You just go into it, and it's I know that you've all experienced it at some point. The thing is that to be able to experience that more and more, you need to court that. It's like, you know, for a girl, or say for a boy, taking a girl out and building that relationship, and vice versa. You're building a relationship, and the more that you build that relationship, the more that you come together. It's the same thing. So intuitive mind, courting it, spending time with it. You know, you don't have to do hours upon hours. You can do 5 minutes, 30 seconds. In the light sound presence, I literally say to the students, view for 30 seconds, listen to the sound, even if you can't hear anything, right? It's practice of listening with the ear of the heart. Listen and then view. And it's not about viewing anything in particular. It's practice. Eventually you'll hear, and the sound will show you the light. That's why it's light, sound, presence. Okay, simple. You could do that 30 seconds, 20 seconds, numerous times through the day. You don't need to sit for hours to do that. Your life becomes your meditation. You know, so if if you say you don't have time, but you have time for all the other things, you know, that's like saying you don't have time for your beloved, you know, the one that you love most in the world. You don't have time for that, because that's what you're doing. And it's your choice, no judgment. It's, you know, people can do what they want. I'm just suggesting, if you want to have that clarity and that intuition and that knowing and that clarity, and be able to cut through that positive, negative poles and just see what really is there, then that's the work that needs to be done. If you don't want it, great. If you want it, great. Either way, either pole, doesn't matter. But I just share what I do. So, okay. So let's, anything else? Anything else? Anyone want to say anything or share anything? So basically it's all about the pituitary gland, but everything is. Hypothalamus, pineal and pituitary. And when they're resonating, that's where you get, I've always said, you know, at the higher centers, when the pineal and pituitary resonate, same frequency. Hey, Cassandra, what do you mean, but someone is there? Someone is there. I'm not sure what you mean. when they resonate the same frequency, that's the gold. But even if you get the pineal like secreting, so all the work that I do is about activating for the secretion into the bloodstream, which gives vitality and gives the illumination and gives the what we call sometimes we call immortality, which isn't about the physical body. It's about understanding that you are beyond the physical, and that part of the self that is you isn't born and isn't dead. Someone is there in their relationship. I'm still not sure what you're talking about. Maybe it was a comment I said previously. Someone is there in their relationship. Not sure. So I think we'll finish on that. If there isn't any other questions, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Cassandra, but someone is there. Someone is there in their relationship. Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Seeing and hearing clearly through the heart, activating through the body. Yes, heart activating is one aspect, but higher than heart activation we're talking. So a full heart activation is beyond just the heart chakra. Even we've got the thymus, which is the higher soul heart, and we've also got the unified heart, which is the sacred heart, which is slightly left of the physical heart and inward, so you can meditate on that. It's the color pink as well. Oh, funnily enough, I've got pink on. And when you work through your higher centers and do this work, then you come back around with the wisdom, activate the wisdom point, which is just above the belly button, and then activate the heart in another way at depth. So, yeah. So seeing and hearing clearly through the heart, activating through the body is one aspect. That neutral mind is a different one. Does that make sense? Yeah. No, thanks, Dawn. I love that because you're correct. You're right. It's just it's another aspect. Yeah. But you think about it, the heart is, here, and we're talking about activating here and driving from here. I say that, the mystic path, I sit in my recliner chair in the hollow behind my brow. Like I sit and recline there and I'm driving like the avatar, because the energy that I am is moving this physical matter. I am not this physical matter, but without me in this physical matter, there is no Cynthia. Yeah. So anyway, tonight I was trying to keep it fairly simple, straightforward. I didn't really ask any questions because I got a lot of head pressure tonight, so I didn't really do any readings. But would you like a card to end on? Would you like a card? I do have a card here. Sacred Vision cards. Let's do a card to end on. So these are, let me see, Sacred Vision oracles. I've used these a bit lately, or over the months. I've used these a bit. So it's only a small deck, but let me just make sure there's no other. Oh yes, please, a card. Okay, so this will be for all of you. Interesting to see what we get today. Let me just see if I can even shuffle. very muggy and sticky in here tonight. It feels like real Perth weather because it's been cold the last few months. Well, obviously. But now the sun is back and it's starting to really warm up. So we'll start getting up to, you know, 30, 40 degrees in the next month or so, I'm sure. All right, so my intention is for this, for who's here and whoever sees the recording, and we'll just see what is most relevant for you today. So let's see. Okay, so this is time. Oh, let me put it up. It's beautiful. Every time I use these, I'm amazed at the pictures, and I go, I'm sure that wasn't in the deck. I've never seen that one before. I literally have never seen this card before. It amazes me. All right, so I'm going to try and read it. So it's number 14. Oh my goodness. Okay, I've just spun myself out. So it's number 14 and it's called Time. What's spinning me out is it's called the doorway. Now the doorway, death is a doorway. So half of this Facebook Live has been talking about death and dying. So yeah, Diane's saying, yeah, have humidity today. Yeah, you can see I'm all shiny from but it's not a beauty pageant, is it? You know, we're here to do some work. Okay, so wow. And each card, like we've got, you know, it's the West and it's black, if that means anything to any of you. So what I'm going to do, I wonder if I can, no, I can't prop it up. Let me just read it from the book rather than from the back of the card because it's black on white. It's very hard to read. So I'm going to hold it up and I'll read it out to you, but I'm already blown away by the synchronicity of this. It's always the way, though. I don't know why I'm blown away because it's just how it works, isn't it? So, all right. Life can be a medley of delight. When the painting of your path begins to fray within your own lodge of thought, shift your mind's eye to that of a placid sea. See the brilliant path of silver moonlight that comes across the water to bring you safely home. Let the clarity of light fill you with radiant colors as you surround yourself with the protection of the ancestors. This is the time of your becoming. What wonders do you dream? What wonders do you dream of for yourself? So there's the contemplation for you. What wonders do you dream of for yourself? And the spirit of the card, so the symbology here is the Native American, but the truths are universal. So ritual and ceremony allow us to travel spiritually through the doorway between one world and the next. And here you go, Diane. According to Australian Aboriginal beliefs, before history, there was dream time. When humans began making time, we began traveling between the entities, between linear time, day to day, and absolute time, the universal clock. The shaman of our psyche resides at the door of our subconscious, bridging the space between dream time and earthly time. Contrary to what we think, the future is behind us, and we are now moving towards the dream time of our past. Just as a plant grows, moving towards becoming the seed again. I love these, they're so deep. Did you like that? Do you have resonance? it links to what we were talking about. I don't know why I still get amazed, because every now and then we do a chat, and I'll pull a card and it'll be exactly what we're talking about. So yeah, I love how it's brought up the dream time too, because I did a post today. I had the bandicoot medicine. So the bandicoot comes out of the door there, and every time I go to take a photo, it just scurries away. But I caught it a few times this week, and to me that's, you know, we say bandicoot dreaming or bandicoot medicine, or, you know, whatever animal or creature it is, it's the medicine or the information or the knowledge or the knowing of that little creature or that being. So according to the First Peoples of Australia, and this is the First Nations or First People of America. I love that. Anyway, you can see I love it. I'm amazed every time, just like every time I work with somebody, every time I do an energy session, I'm like this. I'm like, I get so excited, because every time something shows that is, it's always new and exciting, and brings so much knowledge and meaning to myself and to the other person. It just blows me away. You would think after all these years that, you know, I say I've seen everything, and I pretty much have, but I'm still amazed by the human condition. You know, I'm still amazed. Anyway, so Dawn said, "Oh, so beautifully received. Thank you for this message." You are most welcome. And thank you for showing up. Thank you all for showing up, so that we all got that message, because without you and somebody to be on the other side, I wouldn't have pulled the card, would I? So, all right. I will see you again next week. So every Monday I'm here. I've missed 2, but, you know, I've been here for probably the last 5-6 months, every Monday. So, so share. Don't forget to share if this was helpful or interesting. You think that other people might gain something from it, please share. That's why we're here, to share the love, to share the knowledge. And yeah, if you are new here, I'm Cynthia, and I'm the founder of Rhombus Healing Arts. So if you want to message me about anything, please do. If you want to ask me some questions after the fact, please do. Thank you for all the hearts and love and the thumbs. Okay, now Diane, if you happen to feel well enough, we're still doing Wednesday, okay? So I've got somebody else coming. So, you know, you don't need to say now, but if you are well enough and you feel like you'd like to join us, then pop in, okay? To the rest of you, you can pop in whenever. Yeah, so if you want a private session, I do half-hour sessions or full sessions. Message me. It's all sorts of work. I'm basically multi, you know, do lots of things. So whether you want trauma work, energy work, evolution work, ascension guidance, mentoring, you know, message me and we'll see if I'm the right person for you. If not, I'll see you next Monday. Thank you for being here, and please share the love. I would really appreciate it.